Take some sunshine.
Good morning. We are live. My name is Ingrid Huffman. I am Sacred Blue Heron Woman. Uh, with this warrior musing, Magus-Rancher musing, joined by Julian Catari from Mexico. And today we're going to muse about the law of gender. Um, some people Some humans will tell you that there are only three of these natural laws that are immutable, unchangeable, and that the rest are transcendable. This law of gender being one that's supposed to be transcendable. And again, I will say that's not a sacred truth, because maybe 10,000 years in the future or 1,000 years in the future that might change, but at this point in time we need to stop trying to transcend gender and just be okay with the fact that we each have a conscious mind, which is our left brain, our male, and our subconscious, which is our right brain, our female gender. And roll with that. Be okay with that. Be whole with that. And Julian, join in. Tell me what you think about. Tell us what you think about the law of gender. And I'm just seeing that I'm in my greenhouse, and I just noticed that a couple trays got dumped, thanks to the wind.
Well, I think it's a very important thing to speak about in these times when we have a frontal war declared on gender by the elite, and I I wish they weren't so powerful. I wish we didn't have to speak about it. Um,
You know, the simple fact is they're not that powerful, but they're only powerful because we give them our power, and because we're totally unaware of these laws. So that's a good segue into what I had wanted to say. I'm getting hot in my greenhouse. Too hot to stay in there. Is that what's the point? Why are we musing about these universal laws? And that is to let one and all know that no human has the right to bestow rights on you that were granted to you by your birth. Um,
yeah,
and and when you understand that, all of a sudden the global elite lose their power with these veneers of sustainability and gender and all the other bullshit nonsense that's going on in the world right now.
yeah. So I was. This is so concerning that I am actually doing a sort of a class in Spanish called Deconstructing the Matrix, which is where I'm trying to gather a whole bunch of different analyses and classes, introspections, and about the how the matrix works. And one of the key points of how the matrix works is this war against gender. This attempt to uh, make us believe, like you were saying at the beginning, that we don't have that this is something that is transcendable, or it's something that must be transcended, and they're trying to make people identify differently. And it's also a very good eugenics strategy, where if they convince people that, well, they're trying to convince people that, the structure, the laws themselves, the structures of nature are wrong, or are bad, or are old. And so one of those is family, and one of those is reproduction. They're starting to say that having kids is a bad thing. That and to do that, there's so many strategies, and one of them is trying to confront the genders, and
Yeah.
that's one of the things I'm focusing on my on right now, actually, on this series of courses called Deconstructing the Matrix, where I will try to um, review everything there is, like the medicine part and all the different subjects that are being manipulated by the Matrix. But right now, at this time, this is the subject I'm speaking about, the gender, and how they are um, trying to in, to seed conflict in genders, like saying, "Oh, the feminism." I don't know how it is in the U.S. Right here in Mexico, we have a very um, strong feminist movement, all in Latin America and Argentina and Mexico, and you'll see all. I mean, you can pretty much just go into any Facebook, any profile of any woman, of any young woman, and it's like 4 out of 5 you'll find that in one of their profile photos they have some type of feminist message, right? Feminist movement. How
Is
is
it?
it over there in the US? Is that as strong as it is here?
I don't know. I haven't really paid attention. I know. I don't know if it's related to the Me Too movement, but if it is, that's a fake movement created by the global cabal. Um, to
What
further
is the
reduce us. What we have, part of this matrix understanding is the reductionist thinking, and realizing that they are operating out of a dead earth, dead human hologram. And this is part of the problem, is like you're saying, this feminism movement is so strong, but we join in, we as humans join in on these movements without really realizing what we're joining in on. It was about 3 years ago, when I was talking with my ex, that I discovered I needed to discover for myself what the word feminism meant, as opposed to just jumping on a bandwagon. And that this is part of what makes the cabal, the matrix, so freaking powerful, is that we just jump on these, they paint things with this veneer that makes it look beautiful, and we jump on and they use these words,
Mhm.
and we jump on the bandwagon. They use these words because they know we'll jump on the bandwagon. Our domesticity civilization training has caused us to jump on this bandwagon.
Yeah, and it's really sad. I see them. They'll go and make these congregations and have these protests, and they're just totally out of context. We were speaking about this with a friend. We recorded a 1 hour conversation in his town, Hiko, um, precisely about this movement. This friend of mine, he's very smart, and he can really deconstruct things and understand things from a very unique perspective. He didn't study anything at any university, but he's like really smart. So imagine that. Imagine this incredibly smart guy that can explain everything and studies a lot. But
See that human man created dualism you just spoke into right there, the smart versus stupid. I just put that on the website last night, about that being one of the, the polarity is another law that men and women say we can transcend. The only thing to be transcended is this. I've been noticing how often we reach for the handle to validate someone else, to say, oh, he or she is really smart. We are all smart. We were born smart. We were born with our ancient wisdom. Anyway, sorry. and
yeah, well, he has.
actually, the more wide open he is, because he has no college degrees, the more wide open he is, the more he's open to all possibilities, which makes him even, quote, smarter.
Yeah, well, I think he is just brilliant and can give perspectives on and explain things like anybody else can. It's he's really like an intel, I would say intellectual, because um, if you know, if I was to analyze him from the viewpoint of intelligence in his actions, I could debate about his intelligence, or I could say he's not that intelligent. But you know, just this ability to explain things and to understand things is better than mine. So that's why I go to him, and I have his conversations, and he can, I mean, and he takes the time to study, right? To really understand, and not like you, and not study the bandwagon information,
Yeah,
rather the true story. What's the true history? Um,
right, right. That's not the history that's not taught in schools, because this is part of the problem. Is the centralized education system teaches what the Matrix wants you to know. They don't teach what's really real, what's
yeah,
really history, what's
yeah. So we come to the conclusion that there isn't really a patriarchy. That, you know, there's no club of men getting together and saying, "Oh, we're gonna do have this. Let's put women down." There's no group of, I mean, there's no group of men doing anything. Um, and
no, it's
there's
this paradigm. It's this archetypal pattern that's driving the show. So no, that people don't have to. Maybe the very top 1% at the top are still have that agenda, and that may be what's keeping the archetype alive. But it's understanding that we're being operated by this patriarchal belief system that causes the patriarchy to stay alive.
so that's what I argumented. That there's that maybe the world view, it's a bit patriarchal. The one that's trying to be imposed. But I was even doing more deeper insight about it, and I figured that in by itself, the concept of war and domination, they are they're related to the masculine paradigm. You don't you never relate war to the feminine side, right?
No.
Or domination, right? So there is a lot of domination and a lot of war in the world, but that has nothing to do with men and women. That was the point of the analysis we made. There, it is not a group of men that is up in the power, and it's not new. I mean, you go back to Queen Elizabeth being one of the biggest, you know, promoters of the New World Order.
I don't know
So
if it's your side or my side that's getting really fuzzy.
I can hear you fine, and
I can't. You're like talking through a bowl of oatmeal now.
maybe it's your Wi-Fi. I don't know. Can you hear me better now?
I can hear you. It's just that it's not clear like it was. It got really staticky, and now it's like you're talking through a big megaphone.
Well, I hope that it improves. There's nothing I can do, Mom.
Oh yeah, now it's clear again. So your point there, absolutely, Julian. This has the gender law has nothing to. I mean, it doesn't dictate. It kind of does the male body, the female body, but it's this gender is so much broader, deeper than just the shallow male female body thing. Um, and I'm letting inspiration come through on what it is exactly what I'm trying to say. But yeah, the myth of war is not about man versus woman. It's the male domination, colonialization myth that we've been taught to believe. I mean, I went to war. I'm a woman. I'm a female.
Yeah.
Right? It's and this is where we get gender mixed up with sex.
Yeah. Well, I was sharing about these conversations I've had with him, where we're deconstructing this feminism movement, and just saying it's totally a manipulation of the masses strategy.
Absolutely, it is.
And is that movement, and then there's also this what I call the seated conflict of the genders, where they'll and my friend says, look at a Netflix movie or at Netflix, you'll see that one show, you have now all these shows that say that the best relationship is a gay relationship, right? That's what people are being bombarded with. And then in the next show, you see this idyllic relationship, right? There's the best relationship you could ever imagine, something almost impossible to have, that nobody ever really has such an idyllic relationship. And so people are bombarded with this contradicting messages, and they're all gender focused. But okay, so this is the Matrix's agenda. Obviously, the law of I was speaking about that, and not speaking about the law of gender. The law of gender is obviously much greater, broader than what the Matrix is trying to use as a strategy.
Yeah, because they're operating out of this dead Earth, dead human hologram.
And for that, I for this law of gender, I could share about how in the native worldviews, it's one of the places where you can still find this genderization of everything alive, where you'll find that in the Andes, I always use the Andes as the best example. Everything has a gender, but not even humans, not even animals. Also, the mountains, right? The stones, the lakes. Everything has a masculine and the feminine. It's really amazing. I mean, it's even the leaves, right? The coke leaves, for example. We get taught that when you're reading coke leaves, or when you have coke leaves, there are feminine and masculine leaves, and we're taught to distinguish them, and we're taught to distinguish how the sacred stones that are found in the mountains. You'll see this like stones laying, and they can either be masculine or feminine.
That's interesting.
And most of the time, they'll be together. There'll be two stones, not just one. And one of them will be masculine, and the other one will be feminine. So we're trained into seeing this gender in everything and everywhere, and seeing it as the most sacred thing, and as something that is there for a reason. And this idea of transcending that is pointless.
Yeah, it really is. So that's the part I'm missing in the shamanic work I've done. I hear my puppies going crazy. Oh yeah, they're just being crazy because they're puppies. Nothing wrong. That's the part I've not heard yet in shamanic training that I've had that's come from the Andes is this true animism, not just seeing the spirit and everything, but also seeing the yin yang, feminine, masculine, gender in everything. So now that, like Rumi's poem says, once you've set your feet on the journey, on the path will open. So now the path will open for me to learn more about this. I'm sure now that we're speaking about this.
Well, I'll give you some clues. The masculine, either stones or leaves, are normally thin, right? They're taller and thinner. And feminine bodies normally are wider, are broader. So if you see like the two stones, and one of them is like sharp like, and the other one's kind of like round like, it's obviously the round one is going to be the female, and the sharp one's going to be
male.
The male. Happens the same with coca leaves. I guess it's only coca leaves. It's like the only leaves that we play around with in great quantities.
Right.
and but yeah, I can't think of another leaf that people have in their hands all the time and harvest and
cannabis. That the cannabis operation is
but
huge.
You don't play with it.
No, we don't play with it. It's just exploit it. But
the flowers.
It would be interesting to see the difference, see if there's a difference, since there's male cannabis plants and female cannabis plants, to see what the difference in the leaves would be. There's got to be a difference.
Yeah.
I'm going to start paying attention to that, because I bet all plants, not just the coca plant or the cannabis plants, have genders.
Yeah, all plants should have genders, and just about everything has a.
Well, that has to do with the pollination, right? That's why fruit trees, you need two of each for pollination. So one must be the male and one must be the female.
Right. And I guess that principle is important in all of the universe. So you'll find that even the let's talk about the light beings or ascended masters or those type of beings. I'm never really into. I haven't seen one myself, and I'm not the kind of person that is speaking about that all the time. And but I have met people that have seen them. I've seen the light beings, and there's supposed to be these human. I mean, you can call. I don't know what some people call them, Pleiadians, Arcturians. But they are like human-like beings that float around in bubbles of light, right? And like I said, I met somebody that saw them deep in the Amazon, a man in the Amazon near my community. And well, the interesting thing is that you would think that if transcending, if a very evolved being, if that was the path of transcendence, was to get rid of gender, right? Then these beings would be they wouldn't have a gender, right?
Right.
But they do. It's very clear. They do, and according to this testimony, and I actually asked my friend, are these beings beautiful? I asked him, because we also think that we get all this idea from movies and from the Matrix, that a more evolved being is not very human-like, right? That they have this big eyes, this alien-like
the science fiction.
Yeah, that's the idea they see it on us of an evolved being, right? Or more evolved or whatever. And it turns out that the real ones that do exist, that are more evolved, that they don't need, they can just float around in light bubbles, and can fly, and I don't know if they eat or whatever, but they are very much human-like. We're like a little bit uglier than them. I mean, it's just like if you find a very beautiful human, and that's them. That's how they look like. Maybe
Naturally
they're,
beautiful, not plastic surgery made beautiful.
yeah, naturally beautiful and very gender defined, right? So you can like see a male, right? Very beautiful man, or a beautiful, very, very beautiful woman. So we're very close to that. And um, I guess we did at some point in the recent past, we were taught to identify with this kind of stupid archetypes of what a man and a woman was, right?
Yeah.
Like a stereotype, not even an archetype, a stereotype.
Well, that's kind of the same thing, archetypes and stereotypes. We just created a lot of stereotypes that aren't primal, that aren't imbued with primal universal life force energy.
And I was taught by my friend, actually, this friend I go speak to, that about being evolved, having some degree of being what's it called, androgyn and how do you pronounce
Androgynous.
androgynous? There you go.
Yeah.
Right.
No sex, no gender, or both genders. I guess androgynous would be have
both. Yeah, both. So if you come from this past where, I mean, the man would have very little from woman, and women would have very little. I mean, they would be so like the feminine the attributes or the feminine gifts would only be in women, and vice versa, masculine. And then, I mean, I think we can become, and I think I'm an example of and there's many examples of people that are more androgynous androgynous, and where you can have a very female-like sensitivity, where you can have a very strong intuition, where you can multitask, um, and at the same time have all the, like me as a man. And in a woman, they can be very objective, and they can be very driven and um, organized and intellectual, and there you go. We can have very androgynous types of people, right?
Yeah, well, that's just simply a balance of the male and female principles. I mean,
Inside
but
of you.
inside of each one of us, which is the ultimate goal we are to get to. Part of the journey is balancing, so that we don't need. I mean, we're meant to be in relationship, and we can complete more. We need to be complete in ourselves. The masculine and feminine energies need to be balanced in each one of us, and then when we come together in a relationship, we're not sucking power energy out of the other one to complete us. We're doing this royal gas. The royal gases of the elemental table, they don't wobble. They're not codependent. They just fuse together to form more noble gas. Put it that way. So whereas all the other elements of the periodic table are minus an electron, and so they're wobbling, and they need to fuse with another one to create wholeness.
Hmm.
whereas the noble gases don't. They just fuse. They just join together to create more noble gas.
Yeah.
So that's our part of our goal journey is to balance the masculine and feminine in each one of us, so we can meet our noble gas counterpart and create more noble gas.
And there you have it. There's how um, there could be some the I think there are natural instincts and not natural instincts. No. What I want to say is there's this callings, right? There's kind of sacred callings that everyone can pick up on, like this one. Let's balance our genders inside of us. Let's become more. If I'm a man, I need to uh, be, work more on my feminine side, right?
Right. Rather than just being predominantly masculine.
And get away from this ancient stereotype of the man being all stupid like, or all
The stupid god Aries, right?
insensitive and Brutus, brutal and not being able to have some sensuality or softness, or I don't know.
Right, yeah.
And everybody hears that calling, but then the Matrix knows that, and they'll try to change that into something way different, which is you need to become pansexual, or what's it called? That's not the one. There's this one.
There are so many. Oh, it's ridiculous. It's just freaking ridiculous. I guess there's like 100 gender varieties now. It's like how do you create
Non-binary? That's one of them. Non-binary.
but here's the bullshit about that, because they want us to be connected to computers. They transhumanism, right? And computers work exclusively on binary code, right? So
Yeah.
can you have a computer that's non-binary?
Nope.
So right there, and I know nothing about computers, or very little about computers, but right there is their stupidity exposed, right? They wanted us hooked to computers to make us better, but computers are binary. They're not non-binary.
Yeah.
So all it takes is being skeptical, really, instead of buying everything hook, line, and sinker that gets fed to you.
Yeah. Then there's the other part. There's this one about identity, which I want to share with people, how there's the real sacred calling to become more in touch with both genders inside of you, and how that is being manipulated to make you want to identify with some new categories or whatever.
Yeah. To
And
be
then there's
unique, right?
and then there's a sexual part where um I can, or there's a sacred calling of transcending this old type of homophobic type of nature, where I mean, I was taught, but when I was very young, seems like I'm not that young. I'm 40, and so when I was a little kid, it was very embedded in the culture of the other kids that if you were a man, you needed to act like a man, right? And playing around with other men was kind of gay like, or we're not playing around, but having some type of
close male friendship or something even.
Yeah, something, or appreciation of their beauty was very gay like. You don't want to do that. You want to
Yeah.
be very, you know, if you touch a man, that's gay.
Yeah. Well, you know, from what the little bit I know about Native American tribes is that when someone was truly born gay or
Yeah.
crooked or in a male body with a totally female soul, they thought that person was very gifted, very talented, very, very spiritually oriented. So they held a sacred space in the tribe, as opposed to being ostracized like we are now, or were in the past. And now it's like, if you're not gay, you're kind of the exile anymore, it seems like. But I think it's also, how did gayism, so to speak, get introduced? I think it's by the Catholic priests who had to take a vow of chastity and then abused their young parishioners because they so denied their sexuality that it just demonized them. And so then if a little boy is traumatized like that from the get-go, why would he think that it's normal to have sex with a woman as opposed to a man, right?
Yeah.
And then all the processed foods we eat that are pumped full, not just processed, the fact that we buy our beef in the grocery stores from where they stand on feedlots, knee deep in shit. Pigs, same thing. Chickens cut with their beaks cut off in tiny, tiny cages. So, and here, when I got my farm, I had to do this ranching business class, and the guy that came in to talk to us about cattle, he's like, I don't know why any cattle rancher wouldn't castrate their young bulls at like 3 days of age, because this nonsense that they need, their natural hormones, is just nonsense. They develop just fine without hormones. But at 3 months of age, you put pellets in their ears. And one of the classmates was like, well, what's in the pellets? And he's like, hormones. And I just looked at him and shook my head. I didn't even waste my breath to say, do you not just hear what you said? So they're pumping our meat, our food supply, full of synthetic hormones, and we're eating them. And between trauma and this, it's no wonder human children, our sons and daughters and nieces and nephews, are getting totally mixed up along with the programming. But then the other simple part is that we've had so many lives. Maybe someone truly is a female incarnated into a male body, and so she is truly a she.
Yeah.
Right? But has all the male parts, all the male genitalia, but is truly a female spirit. And those would be the true gays, as opposed to the fake gays. And I'm not saying this out of the attempt to belittle anyone who chooses to be gay or lesbian. I'm just speaking what I feel is the truth in my heart, and not in a non-judgmental way. I think a lot of the gay movement and lesbian movement is kind of forced on us by society. That if you're with the in crowd, if you're gay or you're lesbian. I felt like that was truly the case in high school, because Alexis, my daughter, was always outcast from the normal. And so her first year in Spokane High School, she joined the lesbian gay club to have friends. And that's what the stories she would come home with were like, this is more of a friendship thing.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the outcasts of society, so they've labeled themselves with these and are acting it out so that they can remain the outcast.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. It's positive discrimination.
Yeah.
Oh, gays were discriminated for such a long time. Now we're going to discriminate everybody that is not gay.
Yeah.
What the hell, man?
Well, or I mean, and it's the same with race, you know.
And race, yeah. Positive discrimination goes for
Yeah.
everything.
Yep. Let's just turn
And,
it around. So, and it's all a reductionist thing, trying to reduce us further and further and further, so we'll happily comply with being attached to a computer.
yeah, I guess that's what it is, huh? And so yeah, it's everywhere. Um, I learned to grow away from this kind of stereotype I was taught about man, and I can say I love man, some man. I know, I can really love them. I can appreciate their beauty. I can share things with them and open my heart to them, and which is curious because no, it sometimes I have a easier time doing that with men than with women, um, because of
The sex
pro-
thing.
this programming,
Yeah.
this toxicity, this lack of communication
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that you'll find in relationships. You're in a relationship with a woman and you can't say some things because she'll get mad, or because it's very difficult.
But it's still that drama triangle, right? That
Yeah.
I think the sex programming is the sexual programming, rather than letting it just be a natural thing. Monotheism, I don't know if it started with polytheism, but monotheism had to turn it into sex into something dirty. And so then sex became very predatorial.
Yeah. And
Right?
a coin of trade to it's a coin of trade.
Yes, that's another commodity that um yeah, so when there's a male female relationship, that drama triangle, that predator prey triangle, is very much
Alive.
in play, unless both man and woman, or both partners, understand that sex triangle, drama triangle programming is there, and they choose to every day do the work to dissolve that, so there's not that trauma involved with
Yeah.
all the masks that go with that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I really fed a lot on what you shared with me about the in a relationship, uh, making your relationship the first your first love, and leaving the victim behind, and leaving the other partner.
Well,
the,
and there can be so many partners. Say, like with the veterans PTSD, I used to be part of this group on Facebook called COW, Caregivers of Wounded Warriors, COWW, right?
Mhm.
And they fed that PTSD diagnosis became a living entity. I mean, anytime a MD gives us a medical diagnosis and we buy into this medical diagnosis, that diagnosis then becomes a living entity. So then they wondered why their husband or their spouse couldn't be with them truly, because you have this entity sitting in the room with you. The same thing with any substance.
Yeah.
So you think about it, the more diagnoses a person has and the more medications they take and the more and if they don't have diagnoses and don't take medications, or are they going out to buy something that's their next best savior? That again is another entity that's sitting in the room between you and the constantly.
Yep. And that's such a long subject to talk about, but I think it's a really powerful one, because that's where there's this conflict of the gender, this apparent conflict of the genders, right? It's amazing how the Matrix has seeded that, and people, you know, I had this experience with this girl not too long ago. That didn't last very long, because obviously I am ready for a non-toxic relationship, and so if that doesn't work, I'll get out of that. Um, and she makes me see this movie, right? There's this movie about the Snow White. There's a new version of Snow White, uh, and it's on Netflix. I don't remember the name of the movie, but it's like Snow White with in characters, right?
Right.
And she says, I want you to watch this movie because you can see the conflict of that man and women are, it depicts the conflict that men and women are having right now. I'm like, okay. So I watched the movie, like totally boring for me, and then I have to ask her, you know, where's the conflict at? Where's it at? Because I didn't see it, right? And she says, well, you see this witch that's doing all the, you know, everything. The whole movie is driven around the witch. Um, she's very mad because she's like the earth, and she's like the female archetype that is so hurt by being put down, right? That that's why all the evil exists, because of that, and that's what we women have. And I'm like, so I analyzed this, and this is just false. I mean, there isn't.
It's
They've been
hanging on
taught
to
to
suffering.
believe that historically women have been uh, chased and put down and made submissive. And I when I spoke to my friend about this, I'm like, so let's talk about the witch hunts and all of that part. Uh, and because he's read history, he knows about it, right? He actually reads.
Yeah.
And he says, well, no, that's a perception. He says, I mean, the Catholic Church would hunt anybody that was not following the doctrine, anybody
Yeah.
that was outside of the doctrine, but they weren't really targeting women. You know, that wasn't the case. So this modern young people have this idea that from this, you know, feminism agenda, that women have been historically put down, and and but it's amazing because then they get all this rage, and then she told me about a friend of hers that had an ayahuasca ceremony, and that she saw the earth like a woman being very mad about it. And so I'm like, wow, so this programming is so intense and it's so deep. It's such a big ritual they do
That
around it.
even the ayahuasca couldn't see through that, even with ayahuasca.
That it manifests in their ayahuasca visions.
I know. Isn't that I caught that before you? It was like, wow, because Yeah, no, that's totally anthropomorphizing for that new term.
Yeah.
Earth, mother, father Earth is not angry. What? Here's again the gods, the godheads that we imbued with human. She, our partner Gaia's garden, is not angry.
Yeah.
He is a living entity that's evolving, and if we don't open to evolve with her, him, it's gonna annihilate us. That's just how it works. It's totally impersonal. There's no hate, anger, rage coming from Mother Earth or the thunder beings. That's just neutral, right? But we imbue everything with our emotions so that we don't have to look at them ourselves and figure out why we're being dominated by these toxic emotions. And that's another bandwagon, you know, that we get on. Like you said, the woman you were with, she wasn't ready to be without a toxic relationship. Well, no, how many people are ready to be in a non-toxic relationship? Because it gives you more. Oh, my dogs are barking at the pigs walking by. This is a game every day. It gives you more cause for sympathy in your peer group if you go, oh my God, he is so toxic, or she is so toxic, I just have to cut her out of my life. Right?
Yeah.
It's all about suffering. It's all about victimhood. It's all about not being confident in yourself and your own power. And
there was this idea that I was trying to dominate her, and she would say, what you need is a more submissive woman. What? No, I don't. I don't get off on submission, you know. It's not the, but yeah, it's so imbued in their perception of reality, right? This programming.
Well, yeah, I mean, you remember back to the story I told last week about Lilith being Adam's first wife, and she was tossed out of the Garden of Eden because she wanted to be on top during sex, and Adam didn't want a sexually dominant partner. So and this is actually in the Hebrew ancient text, this story, from what I understand from the research I've done. So Lilith was sent out of the Garden of Eden because she was created out of soil like Adam was.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted a more subservient partner. Are you hearing the same words? It's like she didn't read that, but that programming is there. He wanted a more subservient partner, so Eve was taken out of. So God put him to sleep and took a rib out of his side and formed Eve, a more subservient woman, who then ate of the fruit and brought us all into sin.
Yeah.
That's the programming.
And that's
right out of monotheistic Bible written by none other than King James.
Yeah, and that translation, I read once that it's in the translation because it's not even a rib, it was a penis. That the correct word was penis, not rib. But then how are you going to use that?
I hadn't heard that, but yeah, I mean, that King James version is truly that's kind of the funny thing is that, you know, I was raised believing that the King James version was the only true Bible, which means that who was I being programmed by? King fucking James.
Yeah.
You know?
I guess there was at some point in history some type of symbolic type of they did try to create some type of there you go. Some type of idea that women should be
okay, so I had a call come in and I can't hear you again.
Ooh. So I think we should stop there. It's not gonna get fixed. Did it get fixed? Nope. Hello?
Are we back?
I can hear you.
Gotta love modern technology. I had a call come in and it totally screwed up my ability to hear you.
Yeah.
I'm still not hearing you.
Yeah, so let's
And I'm on full volume. Anyway, I guess that's a good point to end. Sorry about the abrupt ending to anyone watching this.
Yeah.
Maybe next time I'll be on my laptop instead of my phone so that in case a call comes in, this doesn't happen.
That's okay. Well,
So let me end the live broadcast and see if you and I can still talk.
Okay, see you people. See you soon. Thank you for watching.